Hi, welcome to the channel if you're new here, and if you are back, welcome back. So today I wanted to show you a little bit about what I was talking about with the quirkiness of Lego music by writing something really quick in the Lego Quirky style. To do this, I had my daughter pick a random minifigure's name out of a hat, and what she picked was this little Lego penguin costume. So I wrote a quick 1-minute quirky track to kind of fit in with the vibe of a Lego penguin costume video game. So the first thing I thought of was this kind of bass movement that makes me think about a waddle, and it's kind of quirky, kind of silly. What I did was I used a stand-up bass pizzicato, just alternating like this. But then I used a bass synth sample from Museo and used it a little bit higher than you would for a normal bass, just to give it a kind of like the fat sound, I guess is the best way I can put it. And put together, they have kind of a fun little waddle sound. Next, I wanted to use something that was a little bit plucky, a little bit quirky, something that you wouldn't expect for a penguin, so I ended up using a kalimba. I knew I wanted to give it some kind of a melody with a woodwind, because woodwinds kind of remind me of birds. And so what I ended up using was an oboe, because I always thought the oboe sounded kind of weird, sounds kind of funny, a little bit nasally, I guess. And so my original thought was to have a full melody that just played out, and then I realized what I talked about was the idea of sharp staccato notes. And so there are some notes that are kind of held out here, but for the most part, it's a fairly short noted melody. So I didn't notice until I already stopped recording, but I actually forgot to talk about one of my favorite things about this piece is that the bass line is not very clear about whether it's A major or A minor. And so for the use of chromaticism to make things a little more quirky, I ended up using the C, which would be normal in a minor chord, to lead into the C sharp, which is the A major chord, which is the key that I'm actually working in. The C doesn't really make a lot of sense, but I use it as what's called a leading tone, and it's just a little bit of weirdness to add a little quirkiness into this melody. After that, I knew I wanted to have some kind of percussion. At first, I was kind of leaning towards a shaker, but what I ended up doing was I found, again, on Museo, they have this sample library of sounds from different fabrics. So I was able to find a pleather fabric over here. It really gives kind of a nice shaker sound, but it does sound like more like a scraping against kind of a fabric, which I thought sounded really fitting with this. And then I knew I wanted to fill in a lot of the rest of the track with a lot of the same ideas that I've already presented. So kind of short, plucky percussions, along with another woodwind in the flute playing something kind of short. So as the bass line just kind of waddles along, things kind of come in and out and just happen. They kind of call and response, they kind of talk to each other, while the bass just remains consistent. So when you put all that together, what you get is the penguin costume video game main theme. So there's just a quick example of how you can make a Lego Quirky video game sound. And if you don't know what we're talking about, you should go back and watch the last video, which talks about what makes a Lego video game sound the way that it does. And if you like this kind of content, you should make sure that you subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified about when the next video in the series comes out and we talk about what makes a Lego video game sound epic. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.